of Skype. There he is. He's back. Chael, how are you?
What up, Ariel?
Congratulations.
I am doing well. Thank you. Thank you. Couldn't have happened to a better guy. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's crazy. Like last time we spoke, you're about to leave. Now you're back victorious. It's an amazing world. It's an amazing sport.
It really is. It really is. It changes quickly, man. It changes fast.
Well, it was a pleasure to watch. A big victory for you. In hindsight, I couldn't tell. I watched the post-fight press conference. Of course, I wasn't there, and I'm sorry about that. I feel very guilty that I wasn't there. You know, I always love being at your fights, Rampage, Rory. But unfortunately, there's just one of me. I felt like you didn't love the fight. Like you weren't all that happy with the fight. Did I miss something? Like, am I accurate here?
You were missed, by the way, and I don't just say that because we're talking. You were brought up a number of times. No, man, I felt great. I am in so much pain. And the soreness you feel after a fight or after a good battle, it's the best feeling in the world. You might sit and complain about it, but you feel so accomplished. This is different, man. I am in pain. For 15 minutes, I don't know if he ever touched my face. He touched my body nonstop. My chest hurts. My body hurts. So, no, I was kind of suffering through that press conference a little bit and just trying to get out of there. And you know, I was trying to maintain my composure when really I just wanted to lay down and go, scream out in some discomfort. So that's what that was.
Okay. Now that makes sense. Now, obviously, there was the massive weight discrepancy. You talked last week about myths about, you know, height and reach advantage. But, I mean, the fact that you're fighting a guy who's weighing like 40 pounds more than you, did you feel that? Could you notice? Can you actually, like, feel that difference in the fight?
Yeah, I did. I learned a lot of stuff in that fight as far as, you know, progressing through this tournament or, you know, particularly the division, the heavyweights. I gotta change some stuff. You know, I need different angles. I blasted him a couple of times and, you know, with like a double leg tackle, and he just stood there. I mean, nothing happened at all. And it was as hard as I could penetrate. But, you know, when I found some angles, I was able to get him down. It was just totally different. So Randy Couture used to talk about that. I never knew what the hell he meant, but I didn't have to know. I was never at heavyweight, but he was trying to take down guys like Tim Sylvie and Rico Rodriguez. And so I kind of I learned some stuff about the angles and why that makes a difference. But yeah, Ariel, it was different, man. It was a one-off for me. I got a couple of sparring partners that are heavyweight, but only a couple. And they don't even take the sport. You know, they're not there every day. It's not one of those situations. So this was, man, it was unknown waters for me. I was just out there trying.
Last week on the program, you said like sometimes you have to remind yourself that you're fighting because you don't have to cut weight. It doesn't feel like your normal fight week. What was it like in the days leading up to the fight in California? Because you're literally cutting nothing, I would imagine. Did it feel off? Did it just not, you know what I mean? Like that stress, was it just not there?
Yeah, it wasn't there. It did feel off, and I never knew how that was going to go. I was kind of using that as a little bit of an excuse, but I was well aware that hey, maybe it's a positive. I don't actually know. I'm going to have to wait until Sunday morning and see how the performance was, regardless of the outcome. How did I perform? And I thought I performed well. You know, I thought I moved my feet well. I only had a couple of things that I was real focused on doing, but moving my feet was one of them. Staying busy, beating him to the punch, reacting as soon as he flinched. Or I only had a couple of things I wanted to do, and I was pretty focused and disciplined about doing them. So, maybe it was a positive. Maybe not having that stress and that burden was a good thing. I don't know if I have a final analysis there, but this is where I'm at. So, there was a lot of unknowns and a lot of a new thing. As long as I've been in this sport, man, something new always comes up. Something new that I never thought I was going to do. That's where the experience never helps. I always hear guys talk about experience, but for me, it's never the same thing twice. It's just not. Something's different. And that was the difference. That was just something new that I hadn't gone through before.
Initially, Rampage said, I want nothing to do with Chael. I don't want to fight another wrestler. And I don't know if that was like gamesmanship on his part, but did you take that into account? Like, I think a lot of people were surprised that you strictly almost boxed with him the entire round in the first round. Like a lot of people were like, wow, Chael's and you talked in the post-fight press conference like of your boxing history, and we've seen you do this before, but I think a lot of people were surprised that you went that route. Why did you go that route in the first round?
Well, it's always my second choice. I would rather, be on top and a little bit more comfortable there. And, I would try to tackle a guy, but he was just too big. I didn't even see any openings. He had his hands down a little bit. I came in one time. He threw an uppercut. It kind of grazed me. And, and I could feel the power, even on a grazing shot. I could feel the power that I was getting. I just didn't see an opening to get in there. I didn't know how to do it. I was looking for it the whole night. I was circling. I was looking for it, but he would move, and I don't know. I had a hard time in there. I had a really hard time because of that. And then every time he did touch me, and you probably couldn't see it. Like I told my mother this, and she's going, I don't really know what you're talking about. But every time he touched me, I mean, his power was incredible. It was just something that. I'm largely a middleweight. I've done some fights at light heavyweight, but largely a middleweight. I've never dealt with anything like it.
Were you thankful on Saturday that Bellator's main events aren't 5 rounds? Would that have been problematic for you?
That had never crossed my mind. I suppose I would rather go 3 rounds than 5 rounds, candidly. But I don't know that I would care. I've been in plenty of 5-round fights, so yeah. I mean, if you're asking me, do I prefer 3? Sure.
Okay. After the fight, what did he say to you? Like right after they said that you were the winner, I saw on television that you guys were talking for a few seconds. He was saying some things. What did he say? Do you remember?
Yeah, couldn't have been a cooler guy. Was the whole time. Was in all the press and everything. I was just waiting for him to turn on me like a pit bull, but he never did. And after the fight, he said, you're a tough mother blank. And he said, you had a great game plan. And then he went over to my coach, Clayton, and he told him the same thing. He said, I didn't expect him to box with me. Great game plan, coach. He was such a gentleman. I don't know if he takes that as a compliment that I say that about him, but he was, and I think a lot of people don't know that about Rampage. I didn't know that side of him, and he only was with me. In fact, I was in the back getting ready to weigh in. King Mo walked in the room, and oh man, they almost got into it right there. Rampage's team, Tiki had to get in between and hold him back, and Mo was all by himself. It was Rampage's whole team. They start going at one another. I thought, oh my God, what's going to happen here? So he wasn't nice to everybody. It's not like some new nice Rampage, but he was nice to me.
Okay, so then he goes on Twitter afterwards and says that you fought like a bitch. What's up with that?
Hey, I think he means that, man. That's been kind of a dialogue for Rampage. He wants guys to come in. I don't know totally what makes him happy, but one time he did have a fight. He lost it, and it was to Glover Teixeira. But he did do the opposite. He said, I got no problem with this fight. Glover came out. He traded with me. He kicked me. He hurt me. That's what a guy's supposed to do. I got no problem with the way he fought. So he has something there that is sincere and legitimate. I don't fully understand what it is. I'm not there looking to win fights. I don't really know about this other dialogue. But he does have something in a style that he likes and he respects. And I couldn't speak on what it is, but I will have to say he has been consistent with that message, and he's been fair. It's not just the fights he wins that he's okay with. He's okay with losing as long as a guy, fights him in a certain way.
Do you think he should keep fighting?
Yes, I do think he should. I personally believe from following his career. I don't know him personally all that well. I just have followed his career from the beginning. And I think that 205 pounds forced him into a certain discipline, making that weight class, sacrificing, getting those extra runs in, forced him to get into a different level of shape just to get burn those calories and get that size up. I think he should consider going back to 205. But he would do fine at heavyweight. I mean, he did just beat an Olympic champion in Ishii, who maybe hasn't had the best MMA career, but he, a real opponent. I wouldn't write him off at any weight class, but I do think that at 205, that was probably his best weight.
Okay, so as a promoter, what did you think of Saturday night? The pageantry, making you guys come out at the beginning with all the fighters and the jackets and all that. You're about to fight, you have to go through all that. What did you think?
Yeah, I was fine with it. I thought Coker puts on such an amazing show. I can only tell you the electricity of the building, and they were pumped. Everything was great there. But as far as the fights go, see it, Aaron Pico, hottest prospect, toughest teenager, in my opinion, to ever get into MMA. You got Chandler, who, coming off a loss, but I believe is the best fighter they've got under contract over there. Move for move, skill for skill. I think Chandler's the cream of the crop. And then you go look at what Rory McDonald did. Ariel, he was a one-legged man in an ass-whipping contest and found a way to come back and win. It was unbelievable. And as far as Lima goes, Ariel, told everybody else. Lima's the real deal. If you can knock Rory McDonald down, that is so rare. If you can go 25 minutes with Rory McDonald, that is so rare. If you can win a round against Rory McDonald, it's so rare. Lima did them all in one fight. He's as good as the hype. He's not as good as Rory, but we always knew Rory was amazing. But Lima was as good as advertised.
Backstage, what's the temperature like? Do people, do executives, do you believe that the gap has never been closer? Bellator, UFC, let's put Strikeforce in that mix. Like, as far as a B league, so to speak, the number two, is there some momentum there? Is there confidence backstage with the new network and this Grand Prix and a guy like Rory paying off and in some ways now becoming the face of Bellator, if you will? Is there a feeling that the gap is closer than ever now?
Geez, I've never looked at it in those terms. I need a second to think. Don't leave Pride out of there. Some people thought Pride was number one. I didn't. I thought UFC was number one, not Pride. But I could just tell you, man, that the buildings are full. The people are having a great time. The ratings are great. I haven't seen the ratings for this show, but the ratings have very consistently been great. They went head to head with the UFC a couple of times last year. They beat them one of those times. So, they split 1-1. I feel like it is. I was a little bit stunned at how many people showed up. You only have a few metrics you can go off. If you can make your argument all day, but then when you come to live gate, live attendance, and rate, you can't argue those numbers. So we'll have to see what they all come in at, but the forum was packed.
You kind of said
I'll tell you this, too.
Go ahead.
Ariel, I'll add this to your theory. Dana White has always been given such tremendous compliments that he's able to build stars. And Coker and other promoters have always had that hanging over them. How do you build these stars? You're great at bringing guys in and keeping them, as marquee names. But how do you build the stars? It's a really rare thing that Dana's been able to do. But Coker has made some real changes, and I think he deserves some credit there. And I would turn to Aaron Pico as one of those guys where he saw him early on, saw him in high school, got him locked up under contract and brought him. You wouldn't believe the reception that young Aaron Pico got when he walked in that arena. And again, it's not my opinion of how much I personally like him or I personally believe in him. The numbers don't lie. And another thing that doesn't lie is the roar of the crowd. I mean, they were really there to see this young phenom. So I think that's changing too. And I think that's important. I don't think that would be anything anyone would disagree with. Dana does have a long history of creating a star. And it's a very hard recipe. And now that's starting to rub off on Coker a little bit too. So yeah, man, the gap is, I'll let you put it in the words you want, but they're good products.
Okay. I know you said, you're kind of indifferent on Saturday, but considering how miserable the experience was in terms of fighting a guy that much bigger than you, are you kind of rooting for Fedor to beat Frank Mir so you don't have to fight? I mean, like, Mir looked especially large on Saturday. I know he's, still 3 months out, but he will be bigger than Fedor come April. He would be bigger if he fought you. Are you rooting for Fedor as a result of that?
Yeah, boy did he. No, I'm not rooting for either one. I think that I'll be commentating the fight, so I'll particularly make sure I'm disciplined to stay out of it. But I do agree with your assessment. When I saw Frank Mir in person, I don't know, 270, maybe closer to 280. He was so big. And that was one thing I thought after I felt Rampage. Oh, my gosh, Mir's so big. Maybe I should be cheering for the smaller guy, but I haven't given that a lot of thought.
Man, you versus Fedor. I mean, that's a fight that dates back almost 10 years now when we were sitting down and you talked about his fake fights in Pride. I feel like there's a lot of juice to that one. Like we can really promote. We could go into the archives for that one. That one gets me excited. I feel like this has been building. This is a dream fight. You versus Fedor.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I think Fedor could be a dream fight. I mean, I'm just letting the whole thing play out. They've got alternates in there now. And, one thing about tournaments, you start looking ahead and you get excited about something, something ends up happening in MMA. So I'm not there yet, but I appreciate you saying that.
Was it annoying throughout the week, the questions about the main event switch and all that? The press conference seemed like it was kind of Eve Edwards showing up, going after Coker and stuff like that. A weird scene. What did you make of it all?
He had some trouble there, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know how to handle it. I mean, I just don't know the answer. Nobody made me privy to it. I found out from Mark Raimondi. I had to call him up and say, hey, you put out a tweet on this. Is this accurate? So I've never known. I've never been told what happened there. I believe that Coker had said at the press conference that it was a network decision. I accepted him at his word. But I didn't know a damn thing about it. So that was the problem. I would never get annoyed with any question. People can ask whatever they want, but I don't have the answer. And I hate when guys give a political answer where they try to sidestep. They give a whole bunch of words, but they don't it mean nothing. That's what I had to do, though. I'm doing it to you right now because I don't know. They said this is when you're walking out. Well, that's what I got to walk out.
How weird is it, honestly? I mean, we started together on Fox. Remember Jay Glazer? Now he's at Bellator, Jimmy Smith, UFC, Big John, Mike Goldberg. It's like, who could have predicted this when this Fox deal started around, 6 years ago now? This is complete topsy-turvy. The only one who lost out is me. I'm the only one who still doesn't have a job on TV. How about that? I'm the one old Ariel got screwed.
Yeah, and you're also the richest and most successful one that gets to sleep in his own bed every night. So don't shed a tear for Ariel. But I'll tell you this, Ariel. Am I making too much of this? I mean, when they brought in Jay Glazer, you got this Fox deal going on with the UFC. They're hoping to renew, but no one knows. Now, all of a sudden, a meaningful personality from Fox comes over to Bellator. Am I wrong to take that as a sign of the impending negotiation? Am I making something out of nothing? I thought that might be a telling move. I said, Glazer's amazing. It was so great to have him. But he's still a very well-known face at Fox. I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say here? Is there something to that?
I was absolutely shocked. I'm happy for him. And I noticed, I mean, especially as you know, during the football season, he isn't used as much because he's very busy doing that. He's working on Sundays for football. I was shocked. And I mean, honestly, I was taken aback. I was like, wow, this has to be a sign of things. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to resign, but something is up here that they would lest we forget, I was fired from Fox for going to a press conference, a Bellator press conference. That's it. And I'm not comparing myself to Jay Glazer. He's got clout. He's been there for 2 decades. But to me, that was shocking. Absolutely shocking.
Okay, so you connected those same dots. I don't know if you've talked about it on your show or if you and I are the ones breaking this right now, but I took that as a sign too. And I even asked a couple of people, well, this has to mean something a little more. People brushed it off real, one's got nothing to do with the other. I thought, no, I think it does because I remembered your story as well. And that press conference you're talking about ended up only being about 8 miles from your house. Of course you went to it. And you still got that backlash. I thought the same thing. I thought, wait a minute, there's more going on here. That bigger story. MMA fans that are so great on picking up, where there's smoke, there's fire, and nobody said anything publicly. And I thought, I personally think this is very telling.
Yep, I agree. When are you coming back? Like, what in a perfect world, when would you like to fight again?
Yeah, no, I was told. I was told, and it was later than I thought. And now I can't remember what I was told. It might have been August, but so they're going to go through the quarterfinal round, and Rampage and I out of the way, go through all the quarterfinals, and that will kick the can through mid-May. So then give everybody a little breather and come back. So I think I'm back in, that August, September, October, somewhere right in there. Some semifinal will be. Now, whether we're both the same night so that we know, you can face the guys off or how that's good. I'm not privy to that at all. I know at one point they wanted to culminate this whole thing within 12 months, which wasn't hard and fast, but, kind of December of this year, if not January or February of next year. And that might be a little bit, it might be a little bit later. I don't know, but a longer break than I thought. I thought I'd be up in summertime. It looks like maybe end of summer.
Is that not really desirable for you? I mean, it's kind of good to go first because you get to, heal up, but is that longer than you wanted?
Yeah, for me personally, I mean, my only resentment in this whole sport is that we only get 3 fights a year. I came from a wrestling background. We do 5-6 matches every single week. And, so some of those breaks are tough. And particularly when, the more years you have, or maybe a different way to say it is the less years you have left. Yeah, if we can get some competitions in there, I like to build memories. I like to go out and be part of something and compete. I can.
Okay. Last thing for you, Chael, a best free agent signing.
I don't like the new thing you're doing. I'm not crazy about the new okays you're throwing out. I'm making statements and you're okay. I feel it's a little bit condescending. How am I supposed to interpret your okay? How do I interpret that? Is that just you acknowledging that you've heard me say my piece, or is that like a dismissal of what I just said?
A bad thing? Should I drop that?
Okay. I just don't know how to take it. That's all I'm saying. I feel like you're brushing me off a little.
No.
Am I taking it wrong?
It's kind of like a bridge to the next point, which has nothing to do with the previous point. So I kind of need something to sort of acknowledge it, but then move on, as opposed to just make it seem like it's rapid fire.
All right.
Yeah. But you know what?
Larry David-ish. I'm getting
Well,
Larry David from you. Maybe I'm taking it the wrong way.
no, listen. I'm a curmudgeonly Jew, so we do have something. We do have that in common, and I will take that to heart. You know what? Now, see, this is the problem. Now I'm going to think about this for the rest of the show. I'm going to be so self-conscious. I'm going to text you afterwards. I'm going to apologize. You're going to make some kind of joke, but I'm going to think that you were offended. This is my problem. This is my disease, Chael. This is what I have to live with.
Okay. Hey, look, can I ask you something though?
Okay.
Can I ask you something? I didn't get to see the UFC, but I was very interested in Cormier's fight. I heard he had no problem at all. Is that accurate?
He weathered the early storm. He took the big shots, and then it was like the Rumble fight all over again. Most interesting thing about Cormier, though, is he says March of 2019, when he turns 40, he's done. There is absolutely no way he fights past that. Do you believe him?
Wow, he said that? Yeah, I mean, I take a guy at his word. I will tell you historically and from my own experience, it's easier to say than do. It's a very hard thing to walk away from, man. It's a very seductive sport for the entire process, from the gym to the press to walking out to competing to, getting your dreams met with your hand raised or your heart broken. That's compelling too for all the wrong reasons, but it's a rare emotion you don't get to feel very many times. So I can tell you, for me, I wouldn't want to leave anything on the table. I think Daniel's probably the same way, but with the level of success he's had, guys that climb a mountain, sometimes they only want to climb it one time, and he's climbed it several. So I would respect his decision, but it would surprise me. Hey, I got to ask you one more thing. So on Stipe's fight, also he had no problem. He didn't lose a single round. Is that right?
Did not lose a single round. In fact, one round 10-8. Again, weathered the storm. It was terrifying to watch. I thought at times his head would fall off, but he took every punch. He gave out a lot of punches as well. Won the first round, which was the round that he was in the most amount of danger, but fought the perfect fight. I thought it was a phenomenal performance. I think he's the greatest heavyweight of all time.
Yeah, he's certainly in there. Yeah, because I would also argue that Verdum is in that conversation. He shut Verdum off, I think, in the first round. So I would get that argument. Isn't there kind of a false narrative going around, though? I heard something about the belt. He wouldn't let Dana put it around him. I mean, It appears, if this is true, that he did that out of some kind of a spite. Aren't his feelings hurt for all the wrong reasons? I mean, isn't Dana's job to go out there and build up the opponent who's unknown so that they can bring in eyeballs so that Stipe can get a bigger check? I mean, isn't maybe he looking at that wrong?
See, Chael, you just exposed yourself. Clearly, I thought you were a loyal watcher of this program. Clearly, you did not watch the first hour of the show where I debunked this myth. He is not upset about the promotion. He is not upset about Francis. In fact, I feel like they promoted the fight very well and the way they should have promoted the fight. The big challenger coming in, the destroyer, all that stuff and more. He is upset about the fact that for his first two title fights, he was paid less than the challenger, and they have not rectified. He was paid less than the challenger. So in Cleveland, Overeem got more. In Dallas, JDS got more. They have not rectified this. He feels disrespected, and it's continuing. And so he has essentially said, enough is enough. I'm going to roll with my guy. I want my guy to put the belt on me. That's what he's upset about. And I think rightfully so.
Oh, okay.
Come on, John.
All right, well, that is a little bit different. And that's always a tricky spot. Arrow, that conversation is never going to go away. At the end of the day, the way that it works is your contract is your contract. That's a tough spot for the promoter when you try to look at it, because let me just bring up the other side of it, right? And I'm always with the boys. Sometimes it sounds like I'm with the company. I'm always with the boys. I'm with Stipe or whoever the guy is for the locker room. But, when you have a deal, your deal is your deal. We can all agree on that. And then here's what ends up happening, though. When you're Stipe and you're just an up-and-comer and you're doing everything right and you're hungry and you want that title shot, the promoter finally gives it to you. Should you succeed and you reach your goal, the promoter wants you to look at it and go, yeah, I could have given that shot to anybody, but I gave it to you. Yeah. How about you're grateful for that? But we still have the contract. Our financial agreement is still our financial agreement, but I gave you this opportunity that you asked me for. For some reason, once the guy gets that opportunity, he's so grateful, but then once he gets that win, he turns the gun back at the promoter and goes, why aren't you doing this for me? And the promoter's going, I already did it for you. I gave you the opportunity you asked for and the money that we both agreed upon. That may make sense to your listener as I said it. It may even make sense to you, but Ariel, in reality, it doesn't. It always is a car that crashes and guys get upset. I don't know how to solve it. I'm not sharing an opinion on who's right here as much as I'm just telling you. I don't know how to solve it, but that always seems to be the problem.
It is, and it will be a problem that is around in this sport until the end of time. It's combat sports. Chael, we have to run. I appreciate the time very much. Thank you so much for coming on. Congratulations on the big victory on,
whoa.
on Saturday.
Excuse me.
What?
Excuse me. Ariel, are you under the impression that you ended this interview?
Yes, we have to run.
Are you under the impression that you decide when Chael P decides when he goes, kaboom?